always use the same intro music.
What do you want?
So it's DJ Laz, Esa Morena.
Welcome back to Just the Tip podcast, where we say all the shit that everybody's thinking, but no one is saying. In this episode, we sit down with Zak Stern, aka Zak the Baker, the culinary genius that made Miami give a damn about bread. From baking sourdough in his garage to building one of the most respected bakeries in the country, Zak turned carbs into culture. We get into what it really takes to make a business last in Miami. From staying authentic in a city full of hype to keeping your team and your values intact when everyone is chasing quick money. This is Just the Tip with Zak the Baker. Let's get into it. This episode of Just the Tip is brought to you by Rooftop Solutions. So the craziest thing happened. You might have even seen it in the news. A restaurant in Wynwood had to shut down for years after a leaky roof caved in. Imagine all that money, time, momentum gone just because the roof wasn't handled right. And that's why I always recommend Rooftop Solutions. They've been protecting homes and businesses all over Miami-Dade and Broward for over 20 years. They're local, based in Hialeah, and they take pride doing the job with honesty and craftsmanship so your roof stands the test of time. And here's the deal. If you got a leak, they will patch it for free while prepping your roof to be replaced. So unless you want to add a lazy river in your dining room, call Rooftop Solutions, tell them Felix sent you. If your restaurant's POS is slowing you down instead of speeding you up, you're running on the wrong system. Here's the reality. Most POS platforms were built for franchises and retail, not really for restaurants like yours. That's why I actually back Pecan POS. It's built specifically for food service, fine dining, chef-driven, and high-touch spots. And it doesn't make your life harder, it makes it easier. Fully customizable, hooks right into every major delivery app. And the kicker? The POS itself is free with their solution. No bullshit fees, no nickel and diming you with add-ons, just a system that actually runs the way your restaurant runs. Trust me, this one is different. Visit pecanpos.com or hit the link in the show notes to book a demo.
So I am super humbled today. Today I have a methodical Miami creature here. He is an artist that many people have heard of, maybe have never seen. A lot of rumors, a lot of stories, a lot of history, but he's gonna break everything down for you today. Zak Stern, AKA Zak the Baker. Yes, that one. He is on today, and I have the pleasure of having him on the show today. Zak, thanks so much, man.
Thanks for having me.
I'm kind of like geeking out a little bit because, A, I was like, shit, he's never gonna do the show. B, because, we've crossed paths several times. First time I think we did was when I begged you pretty much back during COVID to join our team at the Miami Restaurant Employee Relief Fund, which you, without a doubt and without questions, you said, yes, I'm on. If it's gonna help the community, it's gonna help all the restaurant workers, I'm in. And obviously the fund went bananas and we helped, almost 1,000 restaurant workers. Everybody got checks. So I have a great deal of gratitude for you. But then, there's so many stories about you that people hear, you've literally become a methodical creature. So I really wanted you on the show today to really go through the journey and just talk about you. So this is going to be all you, my man.
My favorite.
But I love everything that you've done in Wynwood. I love everything you've done for the community. I love everything you've done for the Miami culinary scene. And we've had this discussion that in my mind, you are one of the major driving forces of the culinary world. And you remind me what it is to be a human again. From the way you live your life to the way you conduct yourself in business, social gatherings around people. I think the whole community really looks up to you. And again, I'm super grateful to have you on today, man.
Thank you, Felix. That's a lot, and I appreciate it.
So listen, let's fucking jump right into it. Obviously, this is R-rated, so feel free to speak your mind. So for people that don't really know who you are, some people think that maybe you were born in Israel. Some people think you were born in New York, California. Why don't we break it down? Where is Zak the Baker from?
Sure. First of all, I don't mind the ambiguity. I kind of like hiding behind all of the stories. Many of them are incorrect or there's a kernel of truth to it. But where am I actually from? I'm from Kendall. I'm from Miami.
Kendall, guys.
Yeah.
The exotic land of Kendall.
Yeah, like deep Kendall too, down by the hammocks.
Oh, wow.
And then I went to high school here in Miami. I grew up in Miami.
Yep.
Yeah, I went to public school all the way through. I did Palmetto, and then I finished off at Killian.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where did you wind up going to college?
Wait, but we're zipping ahead too much. I
Oh, okay.
played Little League Baseball.
Oh shit, we gotta go back.
In the hammocks, and then at Howard Palmetto, and then yes, I went to school. I went to Florida State,
Okay.
and
What did you major in?
I studied physiology. It was an exercise physiology program, which was a pre-med track.
So you want to be a doctor?
I wanted to be. Every time I think about this, I'm like, wow, I was so young. But when you're 18 and you go to university, you know, they encourage you to pick a major. And at that time, I was really just into smoking grass. And I was selling small bits around town. And I thought, okay,
Was it kosher?
was the grass kosher? I don't know. I don't think it's. I think it's fine. Yeah, I think weed is kosher.
Yep.
So, immature 18-year-old Zach said, I'm going to transform this into a professional business, and I'm going to become a pharmacist. I'm going to legally dispense drugs.
What made you come to that? Like,
I think I was just a silly kid.
Right.
You
like,
know?
like most of us.
Yeah, I was still very immature, still finding my identity. I was really into smoking weed, and that was a big part of who I was. I was really into Led Zeppelin and that culture, and but I was green as can be.
Right.
And I chose something that was a bit silly, and I hadn't really experienced much life yet, so it was just a bit immature.
Okay.
I think, but I did get to university, and I did do the pre-med, and I did learn a lot doing that. I learned how to be disciplined. I learned how to study, and I learned a lot of the basic sciences like metabolism and physiology and chemistry and biology. And so that was a good core education. Got myself into pharmacy school. And then the first semester that I was there, I was just down. You know, I left. In college, I was living with incredible friends, and we had a great life there in Tallahassee. And then I get to Atlanta, where my pharmacy school was, and I didn't know anyone there. I was studying really hard, and I was just down.
Right.
And so I had this moment where I could let go of it before I got in too deep with money, because
Right.
it was expensive. And somehow I mustered up the courage to let go of it. And I created this sort of wild idea because I was still hungry to learn. I wanted to keep learning. I just didn't want to do it in the classic academic
Right.
world. So I was like, all right, I'm going to, and this is very like 18-year-old idealist Zach,
Yeah.
I'm going to create my own university, and I'm going to learn all the things that I want to learn in life, and I'm going to become an organic farming migrant worker where I go from season to season up and down the coast, and I'm going to learn how to grow food. I'm going to learn how to make food. I'm going to learn how to build basically all of the basics of life that I didn't learn while in school, that I didn't learn in suburban Miami, that I didn't learn from my parents.
Right.
I was really hungry to learn those things.
Now, when did culinary come into your life? Did you grow up? Did your parents cook? Where did your love of food in your early years, like while high school, college? Were you as passionate about food back then, or did that kind of grow after your next part of your journey?
I think it's always been there. I've always been very passionate about food, but I did not grow up in a house of like sophisticated cuisine.
Right.
We ate very basic food. We had, like meatloaf and chicken dinner and basic. It was home cooked, and I came home from school and I ate canned SpaghettiOs and Chips Ahoy cookies and very straight ahead, basic.
Right.
But we would go out to dinner like a middle class family would.
Where would you go? Just out of curiosity, just to like give some love to the old school Kendall joints.
Yeah, Islas Canarias. We would go. My parents loved it. We were gringos, but they loved it.
Right.
They knew the server there, and they would go back all the time. La Careta. They really like Cuban food. My gringo Jewish parents. And then some other local joints. But going out to eat and just tasting food, and I just really enjoyed it. But I wasn't sophisticated at all. Like we never went fine dining. We never really went Michelin, cuisine was never on our radar. It was a simple house.
All right. So now, okay, you figured, cut your losses short. and that you did not want to, pursue pharmaceutical, medical, any of that. So now you have your vision of, the Zak University. Where did you start with that?
Yeah, so actually I started here in South Florida.
Okay.
At Bee Heaven Farm. That's Margie. And she had a teepee. I lived in the teepee, and I just picked weeds and learned how to do the basics of agriculture. We went to the farmers markets, and it was the first time I was really introduced to agriculture. Right. Imagine you grow up in the suburbs. You don't have in South Florida. This isn't California. This isn't Asheville. It's not upstate New York. We don't have a lot of role models that are in agriculture. It's not really a cool culture. It's hardly even a subculture. I feel like it's sub. So I never really experienced any of that. And the moment I got on the farm, I was in awe. And I remember I was reading Barbara King Salver's book, Animal Vegetable Miracle, at the time. And I feel like my mind was just kind of blown open.
Did you know back then, like, this is what I want to do?
No, not at all. I was just young. And I was just soaking up all of the excitement of the world around me that I didn't really get to see when I was my parents' kid. When you're a parent's kid, they're raising you, they're growing you, and we grew up in the suburbs. I didn't see much. South Florida is its own universe down here, right? And so
I always say it's its own country, that Miami is its own country and South Florida is just another universe.
And there's a lot of beautiful things that we have down here in South Florida, but there were a lot of things I was missing that I couldn't tell you what they were, but I felt I'm missing something and I need to go seek it. So I was really in my like Siddhartha moment of seeking. I couldn't tell you what it was exactly, but I thought it was just learning these basics on how to be a man. And I went out for years. I mean, it was 5-6 year journey of doing this, working on organic farms, doing a work trade. I come and I work for you, and you give me room and board, and hopefully I learn something along the way.
Wow, okay.
There's a program called WOOF. Each country has a WOOF book, and I would get a bunch of those books, and I would email the farm.
So this is different countries now you're talking?
Well, it started in Miami.
Right.
Yeah, and then it went up to, there was this wacky, wonderful place called the Hostel in the Forest, which I got stuck at for a while. And
where's that?
It's in Southeast Georgia.
Wow, okay.
Brunswick, Georgia. It's an eco hostel in the middle of the forest where they have vegetarian dinners and compost toilets and chickens. And that was another part of my journey where I went and learned how to be naked and hug. And
it's like Naked and Afraid kind of ways.
What is that?
It's like Naked and Afraid, like the show Naked and Afraid. Like
I don't know that show.
So it was just like super hippie-ish and like
it was just wonderfully hippie. And imagine, there's not a lot of hippie culture down here in South Florida.
Right.
I loved it.
Okay, fair enough.
I loved it. I jumped right in, and
at first were you like, where the fuck am I, or you just like when in Rome kind of
no
mentality?
I was 22. I was in yes mode.
Right.
I was so excited to see something different than expensive cars, right, and ambition to be rich.
Right.
I was looking for balance. I was seeking balance. I think there is a lot of exciting, wonderful things down here in South Florida, but sometimes it can feel a little out of whack, out of balance.
Right.
And so as a kid, I couldn't articulate that, but I was feeling it. It was like I needed some balance. And I went out and looked for it, and the Hostel in the Forest sure gave me it. It was a bit of an extreme.
Well, give me some crazy shit that went on. I mean, I don't want you to put anybody on the spot, but if you have any interesting stories, that would always.
On the top of my head, no. But what ended up happening is I went there to work on their garden.
Right.
And the garden at that point, it wasn't so productive because it just felt like the hippies were interested in just drawing the signs for the vegetables, but then the vegetables weren't doing so well, right? But then I came back about a year later, and I took on the role of the manager there. And I had a staff of 6. We all had our tree houses, and it was like a B&B, $25 a night, and you get vegetarian dinner. And before dinner, we all circle up. We play the bell, hit the bell. Everyone comes in, and we circle up, hold hands, and we say, "Hey, my name is Zak, and I'm from here. And today," and there's a little sway,
Right.
"And today I'm grateful for the wind and the spider that came to visit me in the morning, and for the kombucha that I just brewed." And sometimes the great gratitude circle would take like 20, 30 minutes, and people would just go on and on. And I'm joking about it, but I miss it.
It was probably more like people like me that I would be standing there in the circle holding your hand. I'm grateful for these mushrooms I just ate. And,
yeah, sure.
You know,
sure. I mean, there was people coming there to get high. There was people coming there who were part of the program. There were people coming there from the city that just needed to get away. And sure, it was a touch exaggerated,
Yep.
I joke about it a lot,
Right.
but I loved that place, and it made an incredible impression on me, and it taught me how to hug, and it taught me how to slow down, and it taught me how to just live a simpler life. And there was no television. You know, our entertainment was we would watch the chickens roam free, and
Right.
we would make a fire, and we'd play folk music every night, and we'd tell stories.
Right.
It was kind of beautiful.
So who kind of convinced you to explore the journey out and start traveling more international?
Some of that was me just chasing a girl.
Okay, usual. I mean, that's
Yeah.
common.
And then some of that was me running away from a girl.
Okay, again, common.
Yeah. But there was times where I was traveling with friends in India, and then after working for a few years, it became more focused, and I narrowed down the journey to bread, wine, and cheese. These are crafts that I wanted to learn. I remember being 23 and having great idealistic conversations with my buddies and saying, hey, if you could spend 1 year to learn any craft for the next 5 years, and you switch every year, you learn a new craft just to consider it like a grad school. So take 5 years of your life while you're young, while you're free and you're not held down by any responsibilities. What would those 5 crafts be that you focus on? And for me, I wanted to learn how to bake bread. I wanted to learn how to make wine, and I wanted to learn how to make cheese, along with the agriculture. So my journey of learning how to be a baker and learn how to bake bread was not through a school. It was through apprenticing on these farms and working with bakers that worked on these farms.
And so how long were you doing that for?
It was a stretch of time for, 5 to 6 years of my life where I was working either on a farm learning agriculture, working on a farm learning bread. And you know what? The most time that I spent as an apprentice was with cheesemakers, actually. It was in Israel for a long time, for a year. It was in France. It was in Italy. But the problem with making cheese is that you need animals and you need some land. And so when I came back to Miami after all my travels, I didn't have anything.
Right.
I didn't have a pot to piss in.
Right.
And so my buddy, his family house was there, and his dad, Sandy, let me open a bakery, transform his garage. He
Literally in the garage.
Yeah, he lived in near South Miami, let's say, and he let me graciously turn his garage into a bakery. So I didn't have any money. I borrowed a few $1,000s. I'm talking like $2,000 to $3,000 from my parents to buy an old Blodgett pizza oven, and to buy an old butcher block table and a reach-in cooler, and that's it. That's what I started with.
And now this is what, like 2010?
This is 2012, like the very beginning of 2012, January.
Right. Is that the same year you opened Wynwood?
No, 2012 is when I opened the bakery.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was in a garage.
Wow.
And I did that for about a year or so, and I was baking only for farmers markets. And then after farmers markets, it turned into wholesale, because chefs would come to the farmers market and say, "Hey, I want bread like that."
How did you promote the product? Was it just at the farmers markets, or?
I would just go and sell it.
Wow.
Similar to how I promote the product now, right? Just putting all my energy into the craft and hoping that the craft itself will speak for itself.
So let me tell you guys something I see all the time. You take over a second gen space, you think it's turnkey, but the second you walk in, it's not exactly what you need. Maybe the bar layout doesn't flow, maybe the kitchen's a little outdated, or the bathrooms look like they haven't been touched since the 90s. That's why I tell all my clients, you need to call Brodson Construction. Whether you're building from the ground up or not, you still need the finishing touches done right. Brodson's been local and family run since 1989. They're the top 1% in Florida, and they've handled everything from luxury homes on Star Island to some of Miami's best retail and restaurant spaces like LPM, Cipriani, Hillstone, Bell Harbor, just to name a few. Bottom line, don't settle for nickel and dime contractors who might underbid the work to win the job up front and screw you over in the end. Brodson maintains integrity every step of the process to build enduring relationships and never exploit clients. So remember, if you're going to build, call Brodson Construction. Look, as a business owner, I'll be real with you. Running my brokerage takes all my time. And in Miami, if you're not showing up online or on social media, you just don't exist. That's why I've worked with Sage Marketing Studios from the very beginning. Website, social, even this podcast. They're the ones behind the camera. Building strategy, keeping it consistent, and making sure my brand looks like it actually belongs in the city. So just a tip. Stop having your cousin post blurry iPhone pics once every 3 months. Hit up Sage Marketing Studios. You can find them on Instagram at socialmedia.sage and tell them Felix sent you.
There's so many stands, and people, I guess you are the living embodiment and dream of what they're trying to do. What you think made you kind of like stand out, to get you where you are? Because that is very rare to start at a farmer's market, especially for bread, something, and baked goods, something so specific. Like, what was the push that like took you to, maybe brick and mortar to the next level?
Are you asking why do I think it succeeded when I started, or how did we get to
what
brick
did
and
you
mortar?
do different? Obviously the product speaks for itself, but like how many days a week did you do the farmers markets? Was this just like a weekend? I know that you had the place in the garage, but then like, what were you doing different? Or you were just literally doing the same thing, operating out of the garage and going to the farmers markets and selling the product?
I don't think that I was doing anything revolutionary or unprecedented.
Okay.
But at the time when I was starting up, 2012, there just wasn't a lot of craftsmanship in South Florida, in Miami. So I had spent 5 years working on my craft. I brought that craft to Miami. I focused on it. It was kind of singular, right? I was just baking naturally leavened bread.
Right.
I would bring that to the farmer's market. There was a supply and demand, right? That I didn't have nearly enough supply to meet the demand. So very quickly, I'm talking like a month or two, there started to be a line forming waiting for me. And I think it's partly because the bread was good, sure, but also because it didn't really exist down here. The bread that I was making, we had Cuban bread and we had Venezuelan bakeries and we had some kind of old school deli bakeries, but I was baking natural leavened bread, which you could find probably much easier in New York and California. But just down here, I was one of the first to market in 2012. In the 90s, there were some artisan bakeries that were around, but they had I guess they closed. They weren't around when I was starting. So
because also social media was kind of like, it was about to explode within. We had Facebook, and Instagram maybe was too early. But were you catching fire social media around that time, or was it just strictly word of mouth?
No, I had Instagram, but it was the early days of
Right.
Instagram. There wasn't viral things going on.
Right.
But it did help, and that was my only form of communication, really. So I would put a post, and to be fair, that's my only form of communication right now too. I'm the only one who manages and writes and takes photos and does the entire Instagram, and I think that's what keeps.
So you personally still handle all that stuff?
Yeah, it's just me on my phone.
Wow.
But there's pros and cons to that.
Okay.
I would say the pro is that it keeps the narrative and it keeps the voice and it keeps the vision very close to the founder and the person running the shop, and it keeps it consistent. The con is when I'm in a bad mood or I'm tired or I'm like overwhelmed, I'm just not very active.
Right.
And that's just gonna have to be how it is for now, right? And I think it's okay.
Do you ever like go on the rants, or do you hold back on the rants?
Rants?
Yeah.
No.
Like when you get pissed, when you're in that bad mood, and like me, you know, I get mad. I'm very open to, you know, expressing my feelings on social media. You know, if I don't like something, or if I think there's an injustice in the community, I don't give a shit. Like I'm always pretty out there. Do you ever get like those days where you're just like, you know what, fuck these guys and fuck these people, you know, like, and
Not at all.
all right, fair enough.
No, I don't rant very much. I mean, I have my opinion, but I really like to keep the communications constructive.
Right.
It's very easy to poo-poo on Miami.
Sure.
And I have to admit, I was a part of that for many, many years. I really didn't connect with Miami for many years. And I think I'm just tired of poo-pooing on it. And I want to help build it. I know that South Florida, that Miami is missing things. I know that it can't really compare to the other major cities in a lot of ways. But I also can see that as an opportunity, right? This is pioneer time for Miami, and I take that responsibility, you know, seriously. So I want to be constructive about it, and I want to focus on what can we do to make it better, rather than pointing out all the things that we think it's missing or lacking, because it's obvious. I see that.
Right.
But let's be fair. We're a very, very new major city.
Right.
Even when I was growing up, it was a new major city. I'd say 40, 50 years as a major city. And before that, Miami was not what it is now.
Right.
Right. So we need some time, and we need some people to help create the things that we're missing. Yeah. So yeah, I can have a glass of wine with you one-on-one, and we can talk about the things that annoy each other, and we can talk about the things that piss us off.
Right.
But I feel like I'm in a position where I can actually make some change. My people are following us, and people respect what we do, and I want to use that pulpit that we have to build.
I love that. Okay, so now you're catching fire. You're obviously everybody's. First of all, who gave you the Zak the Baker name?
I did.
You just decided to call yourself Zak the Baker, or maybe they didn't know Zach Stern, or they just knew you by your first name?
No, just straight to the point. I grew up watching a lot of television, like Full House, Family Matters, that kind of stuff.
TGI Fridays, bro.
Absolutely. And watching all these commercials inducing us to buy garbage.
Right.
And so I grew up very weary of traditional advertising, and I don't like telling people that we're great. I don't like inducing people. I really want us to just be the best craftsmen that we can be, put it out there, and hope that that's enough.
So what made you decide to take the big leap and go brick and mortar?
Necessity. Yeah. So opened up in the garage 2012. After about a year, I wore out my welcome in that house. I had roommates. We're all good friends now. Right. We love each other, but in the moment it was challenging. And
bread didn't cut the rent anymore?
It wasn't about that. It was just I was baking a lot of bread in a house, and I had woofers. I had apprentices living with me in the house, and it just became a bit too much.
Right.
Let's just say that. And it wore on our friendship in that moment. So I had to go. It was time. I left. I went to a commissary. I found a commissary in Hialeah.
Okay.
Near the Red, White, and Blue thrift shop. And that was Kenny Lyon. It was his commissary.
Kenny Lyon, yeah.
Yeah. And I baked in his commissary for about a year, and that's when the wholesale continued to grow. I didn't have any forward-facing except for the farmers market. And after a year about that, I was just wearing out my welcome there as well. And so demand gave me the confidence, but it wasn't just that. A very forward-thinking developer found us and said, "Hey, I want you to come to my neighborhood. I want to make this work." And those were the Goldman Properties. And they did something that's very progressive, I think.
So who approached you? Was it Tony or?
No, it was Joe First. I don't know if you know Joe First.
Do I know Joe First? Big shout out to Joe First. We love you. Yeah, Joe's the man. I actually ran into him. Our kids go to school together. We go to the same synagogue, the Temple Beth Shalom.
Okay.
And great dude. You know what? He's such a visionary also for Wynwood. And, I think, we love Joe. We think that was really when it thrived. He got it. Like he totally got it. So big shout out to you, Joe. Okay, so Joe reached out and was like, "Hey, we got some space."
Joe came to the commissary and he saw what we're doing, and he was in love, for sure. And he did something very progressive that I think we might have lost in the neighborhood, where in an effort to curate something beautiful in the neighborhood, he took a risk. At that time, I was still a very tiny little business. My books were not very clean. I couldn't go to a bank and say, "Hey, can I get a loan?"
Right.
It was just too young. But Joe saw something. Joe, not just Joe, but Joe and the team saw something and said, "Hey, I'm willing to take a risk. I'm going to give you guys a loan to
Really?
help build out."
Wow. Okay.
And so they gave me a loan to help build out. It's kind of unorthodox, I think, for a developer. And I paid back that loan. They gave me a percentage rent deal, which is favorable for a business that, is just getting their things together. And we blew things out of the water right away in Wynwood. And it was because of their progressive, and when I say progressive, I don't mean like AOC, Hillary Clinton progressive. Right. I just mean forward-thinking, constructive, visionary thinking. Is because of their forward-thinking strategy that it worked. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to do it. And the rents at that time, they were in the 20s.
A foot.
$20 a square foot for rent, yeah.
Especially in that area, which is now demands north of 100.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In a very short time, it went from 20 to 40 to 60 to 80 to now. I know they're looking for over 100.
I mean, we're talking only 10 years, right? Like just one decade, 5x on rents. I mean, that's I mean, but who else at the time when you came in? Because I don't really know of anybody else that signed a lease where you are at that time that's still there from like more of a mom and pop standpoint.
I think Panther Coffee.
But I mean, like on let's say the 3rd Avenue kind of side. No, you're the only one, right?
I think so. Yeah. I might be wrong, but I think we're hanging in there down on that side of Wynwood. And sure, we went from $15, $20 a square foot, and in 10 years that went to now $100 a square foot.
And you got a Pasties right next to you now.
We got Pasties, but we still don't have very much foot traffic in the neighborhood,
which is weird because the sales numbers are there. So do you feel that it's more of like the people that go to the restaurants in your specific 2-3 block radius? Do you think that they're just like taking the car, they're going directly to where they need to go and they're going home? Or
I think that Wynwood has it's a classic example of putting the cart before the horse.
Right.
There was something really special happening in Wynwood when I first got in there. There was Hugo Fresh, there was the brewery, there was a coffee roaster, there was a co-working space. Right. There was something.
Panther, Joey's, and then you started some of the bars, right? The
Wood Tavern.
Right.
So the Goldmans and a few of the other pioneer developers had this vision. They started to create it, and then organically the neighborhood was happening along with some progressive developers coming in and making it happen, like with us. And then it got popular, and then it grew, in my opinion, it grew just a little too fast. We're not ready for it.
Right.
And now they're asking for $100 a square foot, but there's not a lot of foot traffic.
Right.
And I think it's because the place is inhospitable. It's hot as hell to walk around. Right. There's no landscape. There's no shade. There's no parks. There's no plazas. There's a few paseos that some developers got, with exceptions. It's just not hospitable. The parking is aggressive. It's expensive. There, you get your car towed. You get a ticket.
You're lucky. You literally have the only parking garage so far. I know they're building more, but right in front of your store. Which
sure, if you want to spend a flat fee of $20 to park there just come for a couple hours to a cafe, it's not hospitable. I don't feel like we are making it easy to come here and walk around. That neighborhood should be slammed.
100%.
And I think we've prioritized trends. We've prioritized quick returns. We're prioritizing concepts from out of town, which I'm not against. There are
Right.
some beautiful ones that have come from out of town, but
Anything specific you liked, or
yeah, I think some of the big ones that are succeeding are doing great, like Uchi and Pastis.
Yep.
Yeah, they're doing fun, and they're pros.
yeah, Joe's
But-
Pizza is still doing well, and
Yeah, and that's important. We need that. I'm happy with those.
Right.
I just wish we gave the independent local art scene more time to organically grow before we went out and kind of expanded and grew so quickly.
Well, I think that really hurt Art Walk too. I mean, you know, you had all these great little art galleries and just places to walk to. I mean, do you feel that we still have places to walk to aside from restaurants?
Well, I think walking around Wynwood is difficult because
Right.
there's no shade,
Right.
and it's concrete, and it's a bit brutal. There are things there that, yeah, like I'm gonna quickly switch from being negative,
Right.
from the diagnosis to a prescription, because I don't think we need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I do think there is a great neighborhood there, and I think we've been humbled a little bit as a neighborhood. We maybe got a little carried away with our success, right? And we get back to the basics of,
Right.
of what made the neighborhood so great in the beginning, which was a growing art community, local independent business,
Right.
people walking around, bringing the art to the street, right, for the people. More of that.
But I think you just nailed it. I think the problem is that, you know, at least from the real estate side, was, you know, during COVID, when we had all these New York REITs come in, they're not really interested in building a community. For them, it's really fast returns and how fast they can, and how much they can profit and how much they can sell. At the prices that they're buying some of these buildings and raising the rents, it's really hard for talented operators and talented restaurants to make it. I mean, look how many we've had close in the last like 2 years. It didn't take a rocket scientist to see all of that. But I think that because you are who you are and you are organic Wynwood, everybody just gravitated towards you. And for one of the reasons I always keep, every guest that I've had, and when we talk about Wynwood, everything, your name always comes up. Is it the Zak the Baker side? Or is it the North Miami Avenues? You know, because if we look at the majority of the closings, it's happened from North Miami Avenue to Northwest 2nd, the east side of Wynwood. You know, I went on a big verbal diarrhea tirade about Gramps closing. You know, like, you know, maybe it was time because, you know, the underpriced drinks. Listen, it's hard. Even though he had a great deal, I mean, under $10 a drink is hard to do now these days. I think that's really hurts, you know. But, you know, again, like you said, we're not being negative, we're staying positive. You know, I think that everything on the Northwest 2nd to Northwest 5th side is the future, I believe. And you could just tell by the sales numbers. Like you said, Uchi, Joe's Pizza, Q, Hidden, Taco Stand, Ted's Burgers is coming, Dante's Hi-Fi, Barcelona Wine Bar. Literally every single one of those are on your side of Wynwood. But everybody says the same thing, that it's walking distance to Zak's.
That's sweet and flattering, but I still wouldn't give it up on the other side of the neighborhood.
Yet. But depending on the price.
Well, hang on. Miami has this tendency to build things up and then tear it down. Right. And this all happened so quickly. Right. This neighborhood is brand new. Let's all just settle down, right? And give ourselves a chance to get some identity, to unify our mission. We just had a business improvement district that was a little stuck in the mud for many years. That's changed. They're coming out. There's a new executive director. There's new leadership on. Every one of those leaders that are on that business improvement district believe in what you're saying. They understand. They have their tail between their legs, right? And they're working on constructing something better. So the neighborhood has the bones to be great. We just got a little carried away with ourselves. We were shooting for the big office, you know, the Googles and the Spotifys.
Amazons and right.
That didn't pan out. Okay. We took a big swing, it missed. And now we pivot, and it's going towards music, getting back to what we were, which was art. So now it's going towards evolving towards art into music, evolving into more tech-oriented. And then I hope more hospitable streets. The there are no, unfortunately, we're creating a neighborhood in 2025 where we can't just build a park. That's really difficult, and I don't think it's fair to expect these private landowners to just turn their investment into a park.
Why
for
not?
The
They already
people.
made a 5x. You know, like
I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to assume what their business model is, right? I think that's something that the city does, right? And this is going back to progressive thinking: is creating great infrastructure, creating great parks, creating great libraries, and things like that. I believe in that balance between capitalism and great infrastructure that the city needs to do. So we don't have any parks.
I think they're doing the Paseo walkway on First Avenue, right? That was like the plan, and they were going to have different trees. Why can't they do? Is it feasible to do something like that around you on Third Avenue?
Yeah, so there are some streets that are more feasible than others. Third Avenue, once upon a time, and First was the vision of having a Woonerf, right, where they close it down and they make it more pedestrian friendly. It was a bit too grandiose. It got stuck in the clunkiness of bureaucracy, and I mean that's gone. That's probably 8 years in the making, and I've let go of that. But how can we reclaim those streets and turn them into public places? I think people don't realize that streets is public land, and it could be used as parking. It can be used as driving, but it can also be used as a park. And because we don't have any open space for park, we need to just start claiming small pieces of street, closing them down one block at a time, and give ourselves a chance to do something beyond just walking and sweating and transactional. Give something to the people, to the community of Miami that is a gift, that will bring you in and make you, oh, I can just come and bring my dog here and hang out and read a book. It's not transactional. Sometimes it feels like we've just sort of taken advantage of our guests in the neighborhood, and we're expecting too much. We need to be more hospitable, I think. There needs to be more shade. There needs to be more benches, more places to just hang out. If you think about some of the great cities in the world or neighborhoods, they all have very similar things, right? They have plazas. They have great parks. It's for the people, and there's this really healthy dynamic between public spaces and private businesses, and they feed off each other. Wynwood is sort of desperate for that. And then I think little by little, we'll earn that $100 a square foot. We're charging $100 a square foot, but there's no foot traffic to justify it. So this is what I mean when we put the cart before the horse. We're going to get there. Right. We will get there. It's been 10, 15 years of this thing developing. Give us another 10, 15 years and let ourselves kind of mature into a great neighborhood.
Because I mean, right now you have they're putting in one residential building at a time, but you're right. I mean, there's no parking, there's no park, all you have is cafes, restaurants, and I guess sometimes that's enough to charge $100 a foot. I don't know.
No, I think $100 a square foot is a lot of money, and you need foot traffic for that.
Right.
And we don't have that.
Right.
We thought we were gonna. There was a lot of speculation. When you talk to a developer, they would always tell you, oh, once this opens up, this is really going to change the game. Once Nomad comes in, it's really going to change the game.
I'm excited for Casa Tua, though.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
But you can keep putting in all these great things. We're still missing basics.
Right.
We're missing basic infrastructure. And we need to focus on that before we focus on advertising touchscreens.
A lot of you know me from my F+B Miami page, but what you might not know is that I also run Florida's largest restaurant real estate brokerage called F+B Hospitality. Every week I meet somebody that thought that they could just wing it on a restaurant lease. And every week on F+B Miami, you guys see how that turns out. And that is exactly why I started F+B Hospitality Brokerage. We treat our clients' money like it's our money. We don't say things just to say it or paint pretty little pictures. We go based on facts and numbers. If we don't like a deal, location, or permit status, we are absolutely not afraid to tell you. It's about setting you up to last. So you could focus on food and foodies while we negotiate the build out and the terms.
We had Adam on the show from Gramps, Gersten, and he made a great point. Again, even with him leaving Wynwood in January, like he didn't badmouth it. He loves the neighborhood. He said that Wynwood will be great, but it will just be different. That you won't have bars and restaurants that maybe serve drinks under $10. Maybe you don't have live music because of all the residential. Now you got to keep the decimal levels lower. It'll be a more higher end version of Wynwood, but it definitely, like, the death of what made it cool is definitely gone. Like, what's your kind of take on it? Do you think we can ever get back to doing live music or having, cool places again? Or is it just going to be, the cool stuff like Casa Tua and pasties moving forward?
I think the only things that, at the rate it's going right now, the only things that could possibly succeed are places like Pastis. They're large, they have a healthy per person average. That's all that can work. They have an incredible reputation. They're professionals, but I understand why Adam thinks that, and I to some degree agree, but I don't want that to be our future. Miami has enough luxury, enough. We're obsessed with exclusivity and luxury, and we need more quality.
Right. So not really elevated, but just
enough with the elevated premium BS. We need approachable quality. And right down the street is a fantastic luxury neighborhood. Let them do that. They're actually doing an incredible job. Yeah, we don't need to be them. We started off as a artist community, right? And even though we kind of lost our spark, we lost our way a little bit, I don't think that we need to give up on that. I think coming back, we don't need to reinvent the neighborhood. We just need to recover a little bit, take a breath, ask ourselves who we are, what is our mission as a neighborhood? And that's hard because there's a lot of different shareholders with competing visions, right? You mentioned that with some out-of-towners, and fine. That's okay, right? They're allowed to come in and ask for whatever they want. But what we need to do right now is unify the people that are interested in building the community, create a mission, create some values, and make the culture so strong that those out-of-towners jump in on it and they're a part of it. And we haven't had enough time to do that because it's so new.
If you were to wave a magic wand and pick out portions of the neighborhood to do something like this in, would it be, let's say, around your store? Would it be on Fifth Avenue? Would it be maybe up North Miami, closer to the First Avenue side? Where would you see something like that developing? Where would you put a kibbutz? If you could take a kibbutz and put it somewhere in Wynwood where you could have those, farmer markets, and where would you do that?
I would start very small.
Okay.
I know we have a tendency to be very grandiose and
sure,
and this and that.
It's Miami.
It's Miami. That's
right.
Who we are. But I would suggest we start very small. We take one block.
Yep.
For instance, 3rd Avenue, where our bakery is.
My favorite part of Wynwood.
Take 26th to 27th, that block, once a week for 8 hours. Just shut it down with a simple barrier. Put some chairs. Put a little bit of shade. Put some domino tables. Put some cornhole. Put some chess boards. And let people just come and hang out and do nothing in particular,
right,
but just exist. Let a dog walk on a leash. Let kids roam free. Let people sit and read a book or scroll on Instagram, whatever, but just like a gift for the people. Hey, we don't have parks, but we have this. It's not unprecedented. You go to New York right now in fall, they've got little blocks cut off. There's no streets. There's no cars coming through. There's just people sitting and hanging out and just existing.
So is that like a thing where you have to go through the city or the Wynwood bid to get something like that going? Or
yeah,
it is election year, so
I'm not sophisticated enough to tell you what that process looks like, especially in a complicated city like Miami, right, with the county and with the MPA, and there's a lot of different people that can come in and make it clunky.
Right.
But I think we're desperate for some progressiveness.
I agree.
For some forward thinking, reclaiming our streets, giving them to the people, not the whole street, a little chunk, not the whole week, one day. Start really small so it's incremental. We have a little success. Maybe if that works, we go a little bit bigger. Maybe if that works, we go a little bit bigger. And we have moderate incremental change towards the neighborhood that we want to see it to be. And then maybe people will start hanging out a little bit more.
Right.
It's very rare to have, it's 15 by 15 or so? To have that square where you can park your car and just walk around in Miami. Everything in Miami is so linear, right? Big highways, you have to park your car. There's the potential in Wynwood to park your car and spend 4 to 6 hours walking around and discovering little corners. But you're not going to invite people to do that when it's blistering hot with no shade and no place to hang out and sit, when, you know, there's just taco shops, right? And
A couple
fancy.
How many taco shops? A couple taco shops. Right?
We have plenty. We have more than enough.
How many taco shops were around when you opened your store?
I don't remember any.
I think 0, right? Even taco stand wasn't around back then.
And I love tacos.
Yeah.
And I go to taco stand once or twice a week.
Right.
But I think it's a crisis of authenticity.
Yeah.
Chasing trends. We need our landlords, and it's not really fair to me to say what the landlord should or shouldn't be doing.
Right.
They're trying their best.
100%.
What I would like us to see is to come together a little bit more as a neighborhood, as the landlords, as the business owners, and kind of agree on a mission a little bit and work together on very small changes to start to feel some differences and get back to what it is that we think the neighborhood could be. But I don't want to hear people poo-pooing on it all day and offering nothing constructive. That's not helpful.
Right. I was, I always poo-poo on the North Miami Avenue side, but I got to tell you that I got together with the developers that did the Oasis and the owner of Cafe Novella, and they're doing some pretty interesting stuff on that side also.
They are.
I saw them building out, I'm not going to kill the plans. I'm sure they want to do the announcement themselves, but I was very impressed, and I think that's a little fraction of what you're talking about, what landlords and developers should be doing for the better of the community, not just like, okay, what can I get for my space? I got the space, I got the money, now I'm going to either sell or refinance immediately. I really liked what they're doing, but the problem is that just a lot of developers are not, they have owned so many portfolios that they're just,
And that's just going to have to be how it is.
Right.
But meanwhile, there are the Goldmans who are trying hard.
Yeah,
The Lombardis trying hard. The Lerners trying hard. The Polinskis, there are people that do really care about the future of the neighborhood. And, we can't let it would be so cool if it was just one shareholder who had this incredible well, we don't have that.
No.
This is what we've got, and how are we going to make this great? And I think it's very small changes like that. Yeah, so...
What do you think Goldman would say if he was still alive, when he saw, Foot Locker and...
I don't know. I never met the guy personally.
Right.
But he clearly was a visionary.
Yeah, absolutely.
He came here and he saw something, and just because we're having a little bit of an identity crisis right now, because we took some risks and we struck out, doesn't mean it's the end of the story.
100%.
Yeah, I think people get to the edge too quickly.
Right.
We've got a long way to go.
Well, when you opened your store, let's go back to the beginning, and you opened your store. In terms of building a place out, were you pretty hands-on on the whole process? With the grease traps?
I'm hands-on on everything.
Right. So how was that process then, as opposed to the horror nightmare stories you hear with Durham today and permitting?
It was just as challenging.
Right.
What was different then was it was my first whack at it.
Right.
So I was so green, I had no idea what I was doing.
How long did it take you to build out and actually open?
It took us a really long time. I don't know exactly, but we had the benefit of Goldmans, who were professionals,
right?
Who were
so they
helping.
knew what they were doing.
Yeah, they knew what they're doing. I was the rookie, and they really held my hand. And that's what I mean about progressive development.
Right.
Not only
they were more of a partner than a landlord, or
Yeah, but they weren't trying to get equity in my company.
Right.
They were trying to build something for the future, and they knew if I invest in this kid, and I was a kid, I was young, in my mid-20s.
Right.
If I invest in this kid, we're going to get what we want out of the neighborhood. We need young artists, craftsmen, independent businesses to succeed here. So I'm going to subsidize this beginning. And they were right, and it paid off.
Right.
And they got their return.
So you opened up originally just a regular bakery, right? And then was it a year or 2 years that you went kosher?
When we opened up in Wynwood, we were kosher.
But then kosher certified right away. You were kosher certified right away.
Yeah.
And what was the neighborhood reaction? People were just excited you were there, right?
People were excited to have a real mom and pop bakery going on in the neighborhood. There wasn't a ton going on,
right.
but there was something bubbling.
Right.
You could feel
You could feel it. Yeah.
things were happening. It was organic.
Every real estate agent and broker, when they used to tour Wynwood, your name would obviously, it would be Panther Coffee, and there's Zak the Baker, and there's Zak the Baker. And I think the feeling, the rub that you gave other operators, mom and pops, were like, oh, I see Zak the Baker. I'm going to do, that's what I want. I'm going to do it, you know?
And I wish we went more in that direction.
Yeah.
And it feels, sometimes I have a little resentment. It feels like there was a bit of a bait and switch.
Right.
Like they were dangling, hey, look at this, to get, the real kahunas. Right. I wish they would have continued in that direction and filled the neighborhood up.
Right.
Instead, the neighborhood has been vacant. There's been a lot of buildings that are just sitting there on speculation, trying to get that 100+ a square foot and then empty otherwise.
You know what's wild to me is that, at least for the restaurant, because opening a restaurant, building a restaurant is so hard and such a fucking nightmare, that even still with everything that you're saying, and I warned this clients on this, but the demand still outweighs the inventory in terms of restaurant. Even though we've seen restaurant spaces close, we know operators that have closed, there is still more demand than inventory, which is crazy to me.
Why do you think that is?
Because I think that either people see fake foot traffic and they equate that to dollars, or maybe they believe that it's coming. Or, people just want, companies and bigger restaurants are always looking for the next Soho, or they're looking for the next cool neighborhood. And I think that Wynwood owners are still very lucky that people haven't caught on when you actually run the numbers. I mean, listen, you still have, again, your side of Wynwood, fantastic restaurant numbers. But overall, I mean, you could count on your hands how many of those places are as opposed to what they're charging for rents. But you and Panther, I think, might only be the only ones that are still there, right?
From
when
like
you
2013, 2014? Yeah. It's possible. I don't know. We might be forgetting one or two. But there's not a lot from that time,
right?
That made it, which is sad. Wood Tavern?
Loved Wood.
We need those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gramps? Gosh, do we need those?
Absolutely.
And it's sad that didn't work. And there's been a lot of casualties along the way from our evolution of the neighborhood. So we need to get back up there,
right?
And we need to adjust. And that's business.
But I think
right? That's life,
right? That's why I give a lot of developers that get it, who are now trying to do that in other neighborhoods, at least just to bring things back to the community. And I think that's super important. But let me ask you to sidetrack for a second. When obviously you opened up, you're getting all this praise, you're getting articles, you're getting real attention. At what point did you, because I know you definitely never stopped working, you just keep going and going and going. At what point were you like, no, I need more, like I'm gonna go wholesale? Like how long after you opened did you decide, or what made you decide to go wholesale?
Actually, the original business was just wholesale because we had no retail storefront. So we were always, when we opened up in Wynwood, we were always wholesale retail.
Right.
In fact, the wholesale is what gave me the confidence to open the retail, because I made projections that said, even if no one comes in the front door, we still have the wholesale business that can pay our bills.
Wow.
And it turned out that the retail surpassed the wholesale, and things just kept growing. And that's when Whole Foods came around.
Oh, we got to get into that. So obviously we have a lot of clients who either own, bakeries or cupcakes or desserts. And a lot of their dream is to do what you've accomplished, to get into Publix, to get into, Whole Foods. What was that journey like? First of all, like, did you reach out to them? Did they reach out to you? How was that process?
I would say that my relationship with Whole Foods, the way that it started, was not traditional.
Okay.
It was in a time where Whole Foods was a different kind of company as well. They weren't under the Amazon subsidiary, and they were very into local craftsmen. Right. So I literally went with a basket of bread to one of the Whole Foods locations, and I gave it to one of the bakery managers, and he connected me with.
Get the hell out of here.
That's
it, just like that.
I mean, dumb luck, good reputation, good timing. And, a lot of our success story is a combination of that. Tons of hard work, but then an element of timing and luck. Yeah.
How many hours a day were you working between, the location and, getting into Whole Foods? Like how many, I mean,
I was working my ass off. It was hard.
Was it just you? I mean, how many people on your team did you have at the time?
At that time, I think we're about 40.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we've always had a lot of people on our team. We're very people intensive, which is why, there's a reason why you don't see a lot of artisan bakeries out there, because it's very hard work.
Right.
You're creating something from nothing every day. The labor pool doesn't really exist down here for it. You have to create it, and maybe once in a while you get lucky with a trained baker, and then the margins are razor thin. So if we are independent, we have no partners.
Right.
But if we had 3 financial partners, they're all going to be wanting more from it, and they're not going to get it. You can't squeeze any more juice out of the stone. Bakeries are hard businesses. It's approachable food. You can't just keep jacking up the price, right? Bread is food of the people.
Right.
And so you go into a bakery business generally because you're passionate about it, and you hope that you can make a living out of it. And thank God we've managed to do that, but it's still a struggle every year, whether it's labor we're fighting against because there are new restrictions or COVID or something happens. There's cost of goods because there's tariffs, or there's cost of goods because of the global, economy and war in Ukraine, and the price of sunflowers has just everything.
Right.
It's challenging. It's very challenging. I think that's why you don't see so many great artisan bakeries, and you see maybe a saturation of other types of restaurants, because it's just tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough. But most of the bakery owners that you'll meet here in South Florida, around the world, are very passionate about what they do, and they love it despite the challenge.
So how many hours a week do you think you were working, like, in your prime?
A lot, man. Too many.
Because I heard a rumor that you were 33 and you had a stroke.
Mm-hmm. Yep, not a rumor. I had a mini stroke.
At 33?
Very young. Yeah, it was probably stress-induced. I was definitely overwhelmed. So there's a lot of benefits to being independent.
Okay.
And there's also a lot of challenges that come with being independent. Some of the benefits is you're free. You're free to focus on your mission. No one's there to tell you what to do, to take you off we're laser focused on our mission. And I'm sure as a community member, as a patron, you feel that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So some of the challenges is there's no extra pot of cash there to help you when things break, to help you when things go wrong, to help you when there's a global pandemic, to help you when there's a Zika pandemic in your neighborhood.
No, you eat what you kill.
Yeah. So we're limited. We grow only as fast as we're able to. We're governed by our cash flow.
Right.
And that keeps us small, and it keeps us humble. And sometimes it prevents us from growing when we should be growing, right? So there's pros and cons to it. Right. Ultimately, I think it's really important, if you are able to maintain independence, keep it. There's nothing more luxurious, and I use that word luxurious on purpose, than being independent and running your business, because we can do whatever we want.
But I think one lesson that I've learned from you over the years, in the way you conduct yourself and the way you conduct business, that, I'm still trying to get a grasp on is, for me, mental balance and just life balance in general is a big thing where maybe I haven't figured it out yet, because for me, it's 90% work, 10% balance. When you had your stroke, was that when you're like, fuck, this is where I got to slow it down? Or
it scared me. Yeah, it affected me, and it affected the decisions that I make for the company in what we do. Because at that point, we were just flying. year over year, 100, 200% growth.
Wow.
And keeping up with that was hard. So I don't know if you followed some of our trajectory. Very soon after that, we moved into the bigger bakery, 295, where we are now. It's 7,000 square feet right in the center of Wynwood. We established ourselves there, and then I said, that's it. We are not going to get any bigger until we get better.
Because I'm sure people were coming up to you, like, offering you money to open up in other locations and other neighborhoods. And
yeah, we got a lot, and it's really flattering. I mean, it makes me think, okay, they like what we do. They want us.
Right.
But pause. Because while we were getting bigger, we were not ready for it. And it kind of reminds me of parallel of the neighborhood of Wynwood. So instead of continuing to get bigger, I said, pause. Let's get better before we get bigger. And we're still in that phase.
Right.
And I'm talking about infrastructure. I'm talking about the basics of what every good business needs to have, which is finances, which is culture, which is operating procedures, which is HR, the basics.
Right.
And we're still working on that. And there will be a time when we say, our basics are good. Our tree is deeply rooted. We can withstand a hurricane. We can withstand a pandemic. We're going to stand strong. And then we can start putting some of that energy, not into the roots and the trunk, but into branches and growing out. And I look forward to that. I think that's going to be fun. But that moment, that health scare certainly influenced me to pause.
Well, again, it's really interesting because I actually ran into you yesterday in Wynwood. I was having coffee at Walter Gray's because you were closed for the Jewish holidays. But like, even when I saw you for a second from afar, you were sitting there watering your plants and just like breathing air, just taking a minute. And, I looked at you and I was like, fuck, how does he because my mind's always racing. It's always the next thing. What advice do you have for operators in terms of whether it's a mental exercise or, to just calm down for a minute? Like, do you have some kind of karma or some kind of...
Yeah, I would stop comparing yourself to everybody else.
Right.
Because you saw me out there looking so calm and zen like a Buddha.
Right.
The reality was very different. I've been extraordinarily stressed this summer. It's been a hard summer. And sure, I enjoy working in the outdoor dining garden. I enjoy working on our farm that we have now. It gives me pleasure and it gives me some peace. But I'm just as stressed as you are, man.
Right. I'm
just as anxious as you are. So if you ask me for advice, don't compare yourself. You never know what's really going on. And
absolutely.
I hold myself in a very calm way, and I appear to be very calm and composed. But you never really know what's going on under the surface. It's been a very challenging summer for us. Yeah, cost of goods have been outrageous. Butter, chocolate, coffee, sugar, eggs, everything. Labor has completely shifted once again down here, especially in South Florida. Wynwood is not as sexy as it once was. We're still busy, thank God, but I don't take it for granted. I'm still there every single day trying to make every little detail better.
As a student of the game, I always obviously keep track of restaurants and months and week months so I could kind of guide the next generation of restaurant owners to, maybe switching it up or maneuvering around the summer. This summer, from what I saw and heard, was a little different than other summers where, usually it's July, August that I heard was always bad throughout the years. This year, people said it was September because of the rain. And did you see that? Or?
September's always awful.
Yeah.
And October still. September historically is our wettest month of the year.
Right.
And I think sometimes we just forget how crappy summer is here in Miami, the weather. It's hot, it's humid. In September, when you think you're almost out of it, it just rains every day. And that just spoils so much outdoor dining. It spoils people going out, right? I think it was a hard summer. And I think it was a particularly hard summer for a lot of other reasons too, like I just mentioned. But there still some places still rise to the top and stay busy,
right?
And then that's how you know you've got something good that they really want. But I'm going to go out on a line and say that everyone is sweating this summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, And to some degree, sweating in the summer is what we do.
Right.
And you got to be creative, and you got to prepare for that with your cash flow. I think a lot of new restaurateurs really get stuck with that one. They get flush in the winter, and maybe they take out a distribution right away, or maybe they spend it on that fancy new thing, or they go out and they buy themselves a Mercedes.
Yep.
And then here comes the summer, and it whacks you in the face, and your cash flow is just upside down.
What advice do you give? Obviously, you're probably one of the OGs at this in terms of what would you advise a restaurant to do in the summer to kind of try to stay afloat?
Yeah, that's challenging. Well, I can tell you what we do.
Okay, so break it down.
Yeah, we get really community oriented. In the winter, we're hanging on.
Right.
It's just so busy and so many different events and Art Basel and the holidays, and you're just hanging on. Try to keep all your SOPs solid and do good.
Right.
In the summer is when we get creative with our activations and our community oriented, because the truth is a lot of people leave in the summer, and the people that are left are us. It's the working class. It's the folks that don't have a house in Asheville or the Hamptons, right? It's the real residents of Miami. And we do things like we have the mango trade, right?
So I was actually going to ask you, for people that don't know, and you were one of the first people to, you're not one of the, you are the first person I saw do this. There are times where you do a mango trade where you exchange, people will bring in their mangoes and you give them bread.
Mm-hmm. And that's right. Yep. We try to, so one of our core values is community. And we're trying to get our community to get excited about our food culture.
Right.
I have a pet peeve of watching Miami import other people's food culture, and not that I don't love it, they're amazing. I want to give us a chance to develop ours before we just become this food court of everyone else's. And so the mango trade is one way we do that, by encouraging you to look and find value in our seasonality, and we value it so much that we're going to give you a loaf of bread for it. We then use it in a lot of our recipes, especially in pastry. And then right now, October, we're still in the slow season.
Right.
It's still summer, if you ask me. I know it's fall in upstate, but not here. We have the poetry trade, which is even more esoteric, but I love it because we're willing to trade a loaf of bread for a poem that forces you to ask yourself, what is Miami food? What is our food culture? And I value that so much, I'm going to give you a loaf of bread, because I hope that the more we talk about our food culture, the more we will prioritize it as a city and hopefully have more local seasonal produce, more Miami food. I think one day you get off an airplane and you go eat in Miami and you feel it.
Right.
This is Miami food, the same way you feel it when you go to southern France, when you go to Thailand, right? Because they've had hundreds of years to develop their food culture without globalization influencing them. We need that time too, and I think we need to be a little radical about.
I mean, this is radical.
It is a little, yeah.
What's the feedback you've gotten from it? Like,
feedback? Well,
do people think there's a catch, or? Like,
sure, yeah. Some people are skeptical,
right?
But many people are not, and they dive right in and they write incredible poems. I think of one from last year that I love. So it's got to be a haiku format, 575, and the prompt is, what is Miami food? That's it. I don't want to hear about bakery. I don't want to hear about Zak the Baker, blah, blah, blah. I want to hear about, what are your earliest food memories? Where did you go to eat when you grew up, on a fancy dinner night, or just seasonality, something. Even if you're not from here, when you came to visit, what did you look forward to, right?
Shit, I should have asked you to come on and bring like your top 3
of
poems.
What? Oh, okay. No, I got some in my head. Ready?
Really? You go to
Yeah.
Okay.
Because some of them really stood out. So one from 2 years ago was, hay comida en casa, but quiero estar where the people are. Like there's like famous phrase of hay comida en casa,
Right.
But I want to be where the people are. I want to go out. I want to be out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's very Miami. Another one from last year was, and I'm butchering it a little bit, but it was something along the lines of, abuela told me es un pecado to waste. I grew up chubby.
Right.
Love that.
Because everybody can relate to that.
Okay, and then this year, one that just stood out, and this is not constructive. This is a little bit of a critique on Miami food culture right now, but I still think a lot of folks might relate to this. 575 haiku about Miami food culture. Often overpriced, more often underwhelming. I prefer to cook at home.
I probably get 100 of those comments a day on our page of what people think of the scene as of recent.
I know that people right now feel like things are very expensive. Yep. I just recently saw some article that validated that Miami is in fact extremely
the most expensive city in the United States. Yeah.
And I know people often feel underwhelmed. Not always. I mean, there are exceptions, but it's a common feeling. And I feel like that sometimes too. And I find myself the past 6 months, year, eating much more at home, going out, buying a really fantastic bottle or two of wine and some skirt steak and inviting friends to just come over to the house and let's just keep it in like that instead of going out. Or I'll find myself at Houston's where I find it very reasonably priced and very high quality and consistent.
Okay, so we're going to get to places that you like, but one last question before we go to your top 3. Tell me about, I've been hearing more and more about your farm.
It's awesome.
Tell me, my wife's obsessed with farms. She wants a farm. So if anybody's going to give it to me straight, like, hit me.
So I'll tell you what we did. Well, first of all, remember, I all my learning of bread and wine and cheese, it was all on farms.
Right.
So I spent a lot of time really just shoveling shit on farms.
Right.
And I loved it. I loved the connection with the food that we're growing. I felt more meaning. I felt there's something spiritual. When I think about spirituality, I often think about connectivity.
Yep.
With what you do and the people around you or the seasons or the stories, everything, connectivity. And growing food and tending and nurturing a garden is such a great connective touch point. So I've always wanted to get back to it, but I tended to do all these idealistic things when I was younger that didn't really make sense. And as I've gotten older, I'm 40 now, I've mellowed out a little bit.
Right.
I'm still very idealistic, but I'm not as wacky idealistic as I used to be. And I made sure like our business is somewhat established and solid. And now I can work on this project, a farm, which is not going to benefit our bottom line, really. Right. It's out of joy.
It's more of a passion.
It's something I believe will make us a better place, for sure. Like we're growing food for the cafe.
Right.
We're talking about cafe food here, right? It's approachable and casual, and the prices are reasonable I think
right.
Our prices are deliberately reasonable. But growing it at the farm, harvesting in the morning, getting in my truck, bringing it to the cafe,
right.
cleaning it up, having it on the menu the next day, and having that full circle connectivity. And to go even further, having our compost, all of our organic matter picked up by Compost for Life, composted, bring them back to the farm, putting on the farm, growing the food. I mean, the cycle is really exciting. And I'm the one who manages it, and I love it.
Right.
It's a ton of work. It's backbreaking. As I get older, it gets harder. Like I have a heating pad for my back. But this is what I enjoy doing with my time. I enjoy the physicality of it. I enjoy the beauty of it.
Well, I told you I'm coming over this weekend. I'm helping out, man. I'm going to be in work mode.
This weekend is the first planting of the whole season.
That's amazing.
And that's really exciting. And this is the first time I feel like, so for many years, I was always the farm hand, right? I would just do what the farmer told me. Last year was my first time I was the farmer in charge. And that was humbling. Nice. It was tough. This is my second year, and I feel a little bit more prepared. And I'm excited for the season to start.
What are we growing?
So in the first planting, I'm tripling down on tomatoes.
Okay.
So Sun Golds and cherry and Everglades and all these really yummy cherry tomatoes. A bunch of herbs. I'm going to be direct seeding a whole bunch of radishes, cilantro, parsley, basil. I'm going to be direct seeding bush beans too. So I'm kind of focusing on what a seasoned farmer might call the beginner crops. The things that are easier to succeed with, because I'm still very much a beginner farmer. But it's an exciting project, and I think it's part of this dream of making the bakery a small giant, right? And really making this thing that interacts with the community, that feels truly authentic, and that you go there and you spend $20, you're like, man, money well spent. That's a
Right.
deal, you know? So
I really respect everything that you're doing. You know, again, a lot of people in your position are all about growing the dollar and growing, you know, just take it and run. Where you really, I could authentically say that you are all about community, and you know, you just contribute and contribute and contribute in your time and your work and your wonderful product. You know, we're neighbors. So
we are neighbors.
A lot
I'll
of
see
people
you.
don't know we're neighbors. But did you notice that like our neighborhood in Biscayne Park has actually become a culinary community? Dude, you, Brad Kilgore, Steve Haig. I just realized the guy from Habana Sweets is like a block away from me.
Sweet Havana,
Yeah.
Little River is in there.
Right. It's insane. That's why I'm really excited for this weekend.
It's gonna be fun. But just to clarify, you know, I'm not a communist. You know what I mean?
No,
we are still,
bro, of course.
we are still a business,
Of course.
But community is one of our core values,
Right.
next to craft, next to culture, and profitability is one of those too. And if we don't have that, our ecosystem is out of whack, and it'll never work.
I think a lot of operators really do need to learn. And again, it's not just the mental balance. I think it's the business balance. I think you really do it right. And, you know, I think you're the kind of operator every landlord is like, where are they going? Because that's where I want to buy everything, because that's where you're going to build. You know, you're the type of operator and human being that you build a life around, you know, business. And I commend you for everything, man.
Thanks, Felix. Well,
But since you are my neighbor, I
Yeah.
gotta wrap this up with one final question. What are your top 3 favorite places to eat around our neighborhood?
around.
No specific order. What do you like
So that's
around?
so we're in Biscayne Park.
So let's
that's
call it from like the
Little
Design
River,
District to
Design.
Aventura, like call
Okay.
it, or to North Miami.
All right, so my favorite like pizza joint, local indie pizza joint,
Hit me.
I love going to Walrus Rodeo.
Okay, interesting.
I know you don't really think of it as a pizza joint,
Right.
but I treat it as like my local indie spot that I can go there and have a pizza and a glass of wine on a Tuesday night. Or if I want, I can go a little bit harder there and have some nice finer food, right? It's
Big shout out to Alex and Lucci.
Totally, who by the way are live in our neighborhood as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
They're really in Biscayne
Yeah,
Park?
They're the stars.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm a big fan of
I
them.
never see them around.
They're local, they're independent, they are authentic, right? They're not trying to be something else. They're not trying to replicate a trend. They have their own identity.
Absolutely.
And I think their food is really good.
I think they're also one of those, you know, cultivators and one of the OGs that really grassroots made it, you know, a real product of Miami.
I completely agree. So I really like them. Barbucha just opened up in the neighborhood too.
Mike Parolo,
Yeah.
big shout out.
I think they're filling a need that we really need, which is approachable, casual, but quality.
I think even the fact that you can go there to Barbucci, which I love, super kid friendly place.
Mm-hmm.
You could bring your dog, you could bring your kids. They sell wine. They have a little Italian deli, little gourmet market, and you could just sit there, bullshit, and hang out.
I think they're a great contribution to the neighborhood. Also, you know, we were talking earlier. I can be a little grumpy, you know.
Come on.
No, well, I know I'm constructive and I'm positive,
Right.
but I can also just be like, let's just stay home. Let's just
Right.
get a good bottle of wine and stay home. I'm not so interested in going out so much anymore, but I'll go to Houston's once a week.
Fuck yeah, man.
Easy. I sit at the bar.
Listen, every operator, I don't want to, people could be like, oh, you know, it's this Michelin restaurant, this James Beard restaurant. If you ask them honestly, like, where do you guys go? They're going to be like, either Houston's or Hillstone. You know?
I go to Houston's, Hillstone. I go to the one the closest to me, which
North
is
Miami.
No, actually, I go to the one in Bell Harbor.
Bell Harbor, right.
I'm so happy there. The service is consistent.
It's always on
point. Food is on point.
It's always safe.
Every time.
You know what you're going to get.
You know what you're going to get. You're not going to get ripped off. The prices, I think, for what you're getting are fair.
And the service is always on.
And they change my martini glass with an ice cold one, which I love.
I love that.
I know it's boring, but I can be boring sometimes. I like, on a Wednesday night, I want boring, if we're going out midweek. Now, I want to give one sexy one. I think going to Coat is fun.
I love Coat.
It's fun. And
I get the fucking
sexy.
butcher meal every time and get an extra round of gout, and it's great.
I think they're fun and sexy, and I like them. I think they're a great fit for the design district.
Yeah, I think we kind of needed that.
Yeah, they're pros. They know what they're doing. They have incredible hospitality. They've got a great wine list with great somms, and I think they're really fun and sexy. And when you're going out with friends, you want like a night, get all dressed up and be a little slutty.
Yeah,
I think it's a fun place to go.
That's the place, huh?
Yeah, I mean, there's others too. Obviously, I'm leaving off Sonny's because their star is shining so bright.
Because we talk about Sonny's in every episode, pretty much.
But they deserve it because they're incredible. Obviously, well done.
Absolutely, Will, Carrie, Aaron. I mean, if you want to find a group that hit it over the head, it's definitely those guys.
And they totally deserve all that success because they're genuine people. And
they're also they're part of our little culinary clique. They're no bullshit. Same. They're still the same guys. I don't even think the success went to their head or anything. I think it's, the same guys. I'll still catch Will grabbing a joint. You know what I mean? He's still running around like an animal, and I'm really, really happy for those guys.
Me too. And there are others that we're not talking about. Yeah, the culinary scene here in South Florida is growing, and it's getting better every year, and we're standing on the shoulder of some of the OGs like Michael Schwartz and Michelle Bernstein and Van Aken and all those people. But it's continuing to evolve and fine tune. It just needs time. Good things take time. Culture takes time.
Anybody from the new guard that you're excited about, or maybe that's coming, or a specific watch out for this chef, or
I'm not hip enough to know what's emerging and coming, but obviously the Tam Tam guys
they're killing it.
And I like their Chinese place too. The Double Luck.
Absolutely.
It's down to earth, but it's yummy, and the prices I think are fair too. But no, I'm not the best one to tell you who's the rising star. My circle between the farm and the bakery, and then my personal life.
Right.
I don't have a lot of bandwidth, and I'm not on Instagram looking to see what everyone else is doing. I really just look for silly videos that make me smile.
That's what it's about, right?
That's what it's about for me. But I trust that they're out there, and my hope for Miami and for the neighborhood, specifically Wynwood, is that we give ourselves some time to nurture those rising stars, those new bakers, those new restaurateurs, to give them a similar chance that I got, because I couldn't do it now. Yeah. Right? I couldn't do what I did in this climate. We need forward-thinking developers to use their capital to help continue to build, because while everyone thinks Miami is there,
right,
we're still growing.
Cough up a couple of bucks, you cheap fucks.
I did not say that.
I'm saying it. Zach, dude, this was incredible, man. Thank you for hanging out. I'm excited to come to the farm this weekend.
It's going to be fun.
We're going to have some fun. Mm-hmm. I thank you for showing everybody the way, and for clearing up a lot of maybe misconceptions of what people's thoughts were of you, because again, first time I heard of you, I heard about the Orthodox Jew that's the best baker, the best kept secret in Miami.
It's just marketing. That's just people being hyperbolic. That's how it is. Nope, just a dude, and very committed to the neighborhood and the craft and the community, and yep.
Thank you for everything you do, and you are a shining example of what we need more of in the community. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, Felix.